Hey, how's it going, Vibe Tribe? My name is Parker, back with another reaction video. Today we got the Russo-Japanese War Battle of Tsushima, I guess, by Kings and Generals. So I'm actually really excited to watch this one. I had mentioned the fact that I was interested in the Russo-Japanese War in my oversimplified reaction. I think it was World War II. I'll go ahead and link that one right there. So I didn't really know. I knew that Russia and Japan fought each other in World War II, but I never looked further into it. You know, I never saw how one did versus the other, so I don't even know who technically won this battle. But y'all also said that it had a good bit of Navy in it. I'm really interested in learning about that. But yeah, I'm really excited to check it out. Let's get into it.
Wasted at 9 a.m. in the morning, drunk when the sun comes up, now I'm lonely.
Alright, Kings and Generals, you haven't let me down so far. I really liked that last video we watched. Just like the animation style hit perfectly for what I was looking for, and hopefully I will feel the same way again. Alright, let's check this out. Alrighty.
The Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905 changed the history of warfare forever, ushering in a new era of conflicts in which naval battles became central to the fate of the struggle. Its ending had long-term consequences, becoming another factor that made the First and the Second World Wars inevitable. In this video, which was voted on by our patrons and YouTube sponsors, we will cover the naval portion of this war, with a focus on the Battle of Tsushima. This video is
It's in that. Okay, I'll deal with that in a second. Oh man, I imagine the Japanese probably had a stronger navy, right? Because I know they gave us a run for our money, and we had a really strong navy at that point. But 1904. Damn, I thought that this war was kind of included in World War II, but this is before World War II. Oh, okay, so I see why I was kind of mixed up. I'm like, I thought it wouldn't have a name, the Russo-Japanese War, because it was part of World War II. But no, I get it now. It's before that. I gotcha. Also,
in 1868. Japan entered a modernization period called the Meiji Restoration.
Okay.
In the same year, the Imperial...
Oh, by the way, I know I'm pausing this a lot. I'm sorry, I'll stop after this, I promise. I forgot, this is my first time doing any video about Russia or Japan, so all y'all Vibe Tribers that have been hanging out with me for, the past couple weeks, help me welcome any new Japanese or Russian viewers, because I'm really hoping I get some viewers from those countries. So if you see them commenting, give them a warm welcome. I'm sure I'll be doing the same in the comments, and welcome if I'm speaking to you at this point.
The Japanese Navy was formed, showing that Japan was now vying for naval dominance in the region. Lacking industrial capacity, Japan relied on Britain in the development of a modern navy.
Ooh. Oh yeah, because they were buddy-buddy, weren't they?
Russia was also eager to increase its presence in the Pacific. It had strong navies in the Baltic and Black Seas, but lacked a base in the east.
Yeah.
In 1860, Russia acquired Vladivostok from China and turned it into a naval base in 1871. Russia also started building the Trans-Siberian Railroad to link Moscow with Vladivostok in 1891. And although Vladivostok was in a prime position to exert naval power, it wasn't a warm water port, which Russia desperately needed. Meanwhile, China, which was reeling...
So what does he mean by warm water port? Is that like... I mean, obviously they need to be further south is probably what they're saying, but why is that important? Was there ice causing problems for the boats? Like glacier type things? Or was it... I don't know. Just give me some context on why they needed warm water.
From defeats at the hands of the European powers, bought 2 battleships from Germany in 1885. That threatened Japan, as it lacked financial resources to acquire its own. In 1893, Japan ordered 2 battleships from Britain, but the war between China and Japan erupted in 1894, so Japan had to rely on its cruisers. To the shock of the entire world, Japan won the war in less than a year, managing to destroy one of the Chinese battleships and capturing another.
With just cruisers? I don't know the exact differences between a battleship and a cruiser, but I know a lot of them are suited for taking out like different types of targets, like planes versus submarines versus other normal boats. But I don't know the like real life classifications of them. So if you guys could break down kind of the differences between like the terms that you hear when you talk about Navy: destroyers, cruisers, battleships, whatever else that I'm not thinking of. If you could break those down for me, someone who actually knows, that would be beautiful.
Transferred Korea into the Japanese sphere of influence, while China had to pay war reparations and also ceded control of Taiwan and the Liaodong Peninsula to Japan.
Okay, so Japan beat China, so that's already impressive. Let's see what else they can do here.
The latter was crucial, as this peninsula was home to the strategically crucial naval base of Port Arthur.
Ooh.
Control over this port solidified Japanese power in the Yellow Sea.
Makes sense.
Russia couldn't allow this,
gives you a triangle.
And enlisted diplomatic support from France and Germany. All three threatened Japan with war in what was later called the Triple Intervention.
Wow.
The Russian battleship Nikolai I steamed towards the Japanese port of Nagasaki, and as Japan still had no battleships, it was forced to relinquish control of Liaodong and Port Arthur. A year later, Russia secured a 25-year lease on this territory from China and finally gained a warm water port. Japan was humiliated, and that created strong revanchist desires. 4 more battleships were ordered from Britain.
Ooh, they mad.
Participated in the quelling of the Boxer Rebellion in China, but that made the situation worse, as Russia increased its military presence in Manchuria and Japan considered it a threat. Other European powers were wary of the increased Russian presence in Asia, especially Britain, which entered an alliance with Japan in 1902. All that made the war inevitable.
Damn, that's sick. Man, Britain's always getting behind the scenes to make allies with someone or other. That's funny. Fucking Britain was probably scared of Russia too. That's probably why they wanted Japan's assistance. They're like, wait, it's like Russia's causing problems for you all the way over there? Well, they're causing problems for us all the way over here. So what if we just kind of go from both sides and try to take them down together? That's how I picture it going.
By 1903, Japan created a fleet based at Sasebo with 6 battleships, 10 cruisers, and 40 destroyers. Meanwhile, Russia had 7 battleships, 8 cruisers, and 25 destroyers at Port Arthur.
Whew.
At this point, we should mention the absolute importance of the battleships. It was expected that the naval conflicts of this period would be decided by these engines of war. Unlike Japan, Russia was able to build its own battleships, yet the technology used was mostly British, French, and German, so neither side had a clear technological advantage, and a duel between battleships would boil down to the experience and talent of the officers and crews. Ironically, this war would be the first and the last naval conflict decided by battleships, as in a decade, submarines and air power would change the
aircraft
balance of power
carriers,
yet again.
World War II. That's what I was talking about with
1904,
Japan.
Japan demanded that Russia demilitarize Manchuria. Russia refused, and on February 6th, Japan severed diplomatic relations. Tsar Nikolai immediately ordered the commander of the fleet at Port Arthur, Admiral Stark, to not fire the first shots, so that Japan would be seen as the aggressor. On February 8th, Japan declared war. However, according to Russian sources, the declaration reached Petersburg on the next day, so Russia considered the attack on the 8th to be in violation of the rules of war. Commander of the Japanese fleet,
we're going into the battle sim.
Knew that he needed to neutralize the Russian fleet at Port Arthur as soon as possible. as the Russian fleets in the Baltic and Black Seas would be able to reach the Asian.
Yo, these videos are so dope. Like, just the production quality and the way it's all laid out is so cinematic. Definitely feeling this channel, by the way. So if you got more videos from this channel you want me to watch, let me know.
Theater in 4 months. Conversely, Russian strategy was deliberately passive, as they just needed to defend around Port Arthur and wait for the reinforcements. On the night of February 8th, Togo made his first move. At midnight,
Are those destroyers? Yeah.
And launched torpedoes against the Russian battleships.
Okay.
2 of them, Cesarovich and Redvizin, received heavy damage and were towed to be repaired. Togo hoped that the Russians were now panicking, and at noon on the 9th moved his fleet within range.
Ooh.
Unfortunately for him, the Russians were ready, and his ships were fired upon by both the enemy ships and the coastal batteries. His ships were not able to withstand that, and 20 minutes later he ordered them to turn back.
Ooh.
The blockade of Port Arthur had begun. On March 7th, Admiral Stark was replaced by Admiral Makarov. Togo decided to try a new tactic. On March 22nd, 2 of his battleships were sent to the southwest side of the Liaodong
Going for a
Peninsula,
flank?
where
A
they could
pincer
not be
here?
seen by Russian coastal batteries,
Pincer?
and started bombarding the enemy fleet, dealing some damage before the Russians managed to relocate their batteries and fire back.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, the situation on land changed, as Japanese troops were now in striking distance of Port Arthur, so Togo needed to seal it off to prevent the escape of the Russian Navy. On April 12th, Japanese destroyers placed 50 mines close to the harbour mouth. Makarov spotted them and attempted a sortie with 2 battleships and 4 cruisers. This was an ambush, as suddenly 5 of Togo's battleships appeared from the mist and opened fire at the Russians,
Ooh.
and the latter had to head back to the safety of the port.
God, this is such a cat and mouse. I'm assuming, like, when it comes to perspective here, like, they look like they're right next to each other, but I'm sure this is still, what, a mile? 2 miles away from each other? How far do they get? Like, how close do battleships have to get to actually hit anything? I don't know, a mile could be ridiculous. I have no clue. I've never been on a battleship or seen them firing, but just let me know, like, how far do they really need to be from each other before they're engaging? Is it measured
However,
in
the
meters or
battleship
miles?
Petropavlovsk struck a mine and sank, along with Makarov.
Ooh.
Another battleship, Pobieda, also hit a mine, but was able to make it into the port. Untested Rear Admiral Vidgeft was appointed the new commander. His approach was more passive, and that allowed the Japanese to land an army to the northeast of Port Arthur on May 5th, basically cutting the Russians off. Togo resumed skirmishes, and in response, Vidgeft started mining off possible bombardment positions. That worked out, as on May 15th, Japanese battleships had Suse and Tsushima struck mines and sunk.
You got 2?
June,
They got 2 with
finally
mines?
repaired
Oh man.
Redvizin, Cesarovich and Pobieda. They needed to break out in order to get to Vladivostok, and on June 23rd, the whole squadron sailed out of the harbour. Togo couldn't allow the Russians to escape. Initially, his squadron moved parallel to the Russians, out of firing range, but gradually closed the distance and started a long-range duel. Although Vidgeft had the numbers on his side, he ordered his ships to sail back to port. Despite all the attempts to delay the Japanese land forces, by August 7th they were shelling Port Arthur's harbour, damaging Redvizin yet again.
Man, he pulled them back right as the land forces finally got through. That's not good, because that's gonna be straight mayhem if they break all the defense. Oh no, it's falling apart for the Russians here.
Finally, on the 10th, a direct order from the Tsar forced Vidgeft to attempt another escape to Vladivostok. Togo was not prepared for this, as part of his navy was assisting the ground campaign. Still, over the next few hours, Togo managed to build up his fleet. In the battle that would later be known as the Battle of the Yellow Sea, the Japanese used their cruisers as they would do with the battleships, closing in fast in order to use the smaller caliber guns. Togo crossed the T multiple times despite enemy fire, maximizing the use of his guns. All the Russian battleships were damaged, and Vidgeft was forced to return to Port Arthur, covered by the dramatic charge of Red Vision. In December, Japanese land troops captured the hill overlooking the city and started firing directly towards the Russian ships.
Yeah.
Most of them were sunk.
Man.
On January 2nd, 1905, the city fell and the majority of the Russian Pacific Navy
I'm back.
was gone. Meanwhile, in May of 1904, the Russians decided to send 2 more squadrons from the Baltic and Black Seas in order to help the Pacific Fleet. The new fleet, commanded by Roger,
that's gonna be quite a trip, isn't it?
In October and was in Indochina by May of 1905.
October to May.
Rozhdestvensky had 7 old and 4
pretty
new
long.
battleships, alongside 6 cruisers and 9
Man,
destroyers.
what a journey!
His
What a
plan was
journey!
to move directly to Vladivostok via the Tsushima Straits. That gave Togo ample opportunity to repair his ships at Mesan and place his radio-equipped scout ships in a fashion that would allow him to learn about the inevitable Russian counterattack. By the time the 2nd Pacific Squadron reached the battle scene, it was in poor condition. On top of their low morale, the Russians did not have an opportunity to perform proper maintenance on their ships. On the night of May 26, 1905, the Russian fleet attempted to pass the Tsushima Strait in a thick fog, but was detected by the Japanese. At 4:55 a.m., Captain Narukawa of the Shinano Maru sent a wireless message to Togo, head of the Japanese Navy, and informed him about the Russian fleet nearby.
Oh, and they're right in the heartland of it all now. They're in trouble.
It was a new technology at the time,
Uh-oh.
and it enabled the Japanese to block the Russians very quickly. At 13:49, the engagement began. The Japanese combined fleet consisted of 5 battleships, 26 cruisers, 21 destroyers, and 43 torpedo boats.
That's a lot of boats,
the
bro.
Russians started firing on the leading Japanese ship, Mikasa, but the Japanese response on the flagship, Knyaz Suvorov, was more precise. By 14:45, Admiral Togo was able to cross the Russian T. This meant that the Japanese fleet was in a perpendicular position to the northward moving Russian fleet, allowing him to fire broadsides, while the Russians could only reply with their forward turrets.
Yeah, they ain't got guns on the front.
Due to the superior speed of the Japanese ships, which could sustain 15 knots, while the Russian ships were able to reach only 4.
And now, once they're in this position, even once they start turning off, I imagine they're just gonna become easier targets, and they're, you know, just firing away. So, as soon as you turn off, you're gonna make yourself an easier target too, so you're really just boned at this point.
Knots in short bursts. In the first hour of the battle, the Japanese were able to sink the battleship Oslabya and significantly damage 2 others. Another battleship tried to break through towards Vladivostok. Admiral Togo maneuvered to change the engaged side. Part of his fleet took a course away from the Russian fleet and then turned around to fire on the left side of the Russian ships, which enabled the Japanese ships to have the same firepower as in the beginning of the battle. After 3 hours of heavy battle, the line of the Russian fleet was broken and disorganized. Rozhdestvensky was heavily injured and surrendered command to Rear Admiral Nibogatov. He wouldn't know about this until an hour later. The Japanese fleet took a parallel course with the Russians and managed to cross the Russian T again.
They're just so fast. They're so fast, and so it looked like they started shooting out their right side, and then they turned to use their left side. I'm guessing they were reloading their munitions on the right side, because they just turned back around again, and they're just swapping back and forth. Wow. Just, I guess having speed in a naval battle is, I guess it's the most important, and just tactics.
Within 20 minutes of this engagement, 2 Russian battleships were sunk.
Oof.
The Russian fleet was devastated, and the battle was effectively over.
Yeah.
But Admiral Togo aimed for complete victory over the Russians in the Pacific, and thus sought to continue to chase the remainder of the Russian fleet, aiming to reach Vladivostok. 21 destroyers and 37 torpedo boats were employed to achieve complete victory over the Russians.
Oh,
Destroyers
man.
attacked the Russian vanguard, while the torpedo boats attacked from the east and south of the Russian fleet. The
Oof.
Japanese were able to surround the Russians and cause panic among their ranks.
Yeah.
The night attacks had put a great strain on the Russians, as they had lost 2 battleships and 2 armored cruisers, while the Japanese had only lost 3 torpedo boats.
Oof.
In the morning of May 28th, Rear Admiral Nibugatov ordered the 6 remaining ships under his command to surrender. Japan was able to succeed in the Battle of Tsushima thanks to its more evolved gunnery, faster pace, and better use of the wireless telegraph,
Yeah.
along with tactical superiority.
Yeah.
Russia suffered a heavy
Man.
defeat, with the loss of all of its battleships and most of its cruisers and destroyers, while the Japanese Navy only lost 3 torpedo boats. The Russians lost 4,380 killed and 5,917 captured, including 2 admirals, while Japan lost 117 men. The Battle of Tsushima effectively ended the Russo-Japanese War in favor of Japan.
Yeah.
For the first time in a very long period, an Asian power defeated a European powerhouse. This weakened the prestige of the Russian Empire, which was one of the key triggers of the Russian Revolution in 1905.
Don't know much about that either.
Meanwhile, Japan solidified its place as a force to be reckoned with in the Pacific and Far East. Thank you for watching our video on the Russo-Japanese War. It is often difficult to convey everything in a short video, so we decided to start.
Ah, you ain't kidding me. I see through your lies. Alright, well that was a good video. I really don't know much about Russian history. You know, he mentioned the Russian Revolution there. I knew that there was one, but I don't know anything about it. So I guess that's something to look into as well. I just like revolution topics. I mentioned the Haiti Revolution last video. And the Russian one interests me too. I do like learning about revolutions. I think they're badass. But anyway, that was sick. Man, I can't believe it was so one-sided. Like, Japan destroyed them. Like, what the hell? I don't know. Like, were their brains just bigger? Or were they just faster? Were they just... I don't know. Y'all might have to let me know. That was wacky. I did not expect it to be such a landslide going into this. Wow. Alright, well, let me know what you want me to watch next. If you could drop a sub and help me get to my first 1,000 sub, that would be pretty sick. Alright, see y'all in the next one. Vibes never die.
All we got is a bag in the backseat. And it's love we share, not shabby at all. But the fact is we moving too fast, but the thought passed me